Hello and good evening again. It's BCL Beyond the Boundary here with myself, Simon Booth. This evening I'm glad to welcome two esteemed gentlemen from Lostock Cricket Club, Danny Cockton and Rob Holgate. Evening, chaps.
Hi, Simon.
Hey, Simon.
How are you doing? You okay?
All good. All good.
Brill. Without further ado, obviously we'll sort of crack on. First thing, obviously with these interviews, it's all right for us in the Bolton League. We all sort of know each other. There'll be people watching this who don't know us three from Adam. So first things first, I'll go to Danny if that's all right. I just want you to introduce yourself, a bit about yourself in terms of playing career, and obviously your role at your club.
Yeah, so thanks, Simon. So Danny Cockton, as you said, I've spent my formative years at cricket playing for Darcy Lever in the old Bolton Association, and then in 2003 I had a year down in the Cheshire Leagues, and then moved to Lostock 2004, and I've been there ever since through thick and thin. Really, played a number of roles from first team captain, tea lady. Rubbish man, tip man. Had a crack at chairman for a little while we transitioned onto the new ground. I've had a couple of years taking a back seat, to be honest, but this year I was due to take up a role again as second team captain. So yeah, unfortunately it's not quite panned out, but there you go.
Over to you, Robbie.
Yeah, so I'm Rob Holgate. I'm the current first 11 captain at Lostock. This was going to be my first full season as captain. Obviously, that's been scuppered a little bit for now, but took over in the middle of last season. So I've been at Lostock now this would be my 7th season. Before that, I played my junior cricket and the first stages of my senior cricket at Horwich, which is another Bolton League club.
Well, thank you very much, chaps. So introductions aside, we'll dive straight in if that's all right. Obviously, there's two of you, so if anyone wants to take a particular question one way, then you're more than welcome to. First things first, what was your club's plans for the 2020 season in terms of players, club improvements, and any sort of possible events in your social calendar?
I'll pick up first on players. So I think we've come into this season with the same squad from a senior section as we did last year. A few additions over winter. I don't think we lost anyone. We was due to bring over a South African pro this year, be his first year with us, Colby Schultz. So he's had a decent year over in South Africa, or decent season. He has been over here before, so he played with Bury, and he did really well. So we spoke to a few of the guys there. So we're quite looking forward to him coming over. He's a bit more experienced than what we brought over recently in his late 20s, so we're hoping that he'd be a real positive impact on the club. So that's where we are from a playing side, senior cricket, junior cricket-wise, and Daniel touched a bit more on the junior side, but we've brought Mark Greenhouse on as the senior cricket coach.
Yeah, top man.
He's a good bloke, really good bloke. So he's implemented the All-Star programme and the Dynamo, so it's our first season of rolling that out. So I think later on in one of your questions, Daniel probably touch on that a little bit more, what Mark's doing, particularly in the current situation. So hopefully we're trying to get the juniors as involved as we possibly can. Then from a club improvement wise, and Danny just pitching as and when, but he'll know more. He'll be able to tell you a lot more about the background of when we've not had a ground for quite a long time, and we've been on our new ground for 3 or 4 seasons to date. But improvement-wise and what we're looking to do going forward, so you're seeing the new facility, Simon. It's a great place. It's a good place to play cricket.
Yeah.
We're trying to improve it, trying to enclose it a little bit more, planting some trees around it, stop that wind flying.
Good, because it's freezing.
Yeah, that's what we could do without that. So hopefully, I hope them trees are big. I've not gone looking, but
we don't want them to grow too fast, though. It's the only home advantage we've got.
But the bigger they get, the sooner the better. But that's where we're looking going forward. But from a history perspective, Danny's probably better touching on that and kind of where we've got to now and how we're looking to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we're probably as a club in this situation, and I know we're gonna touch on the pandemic shortly, but we're probably amongst the best placed. The challenge that clubs will have at the moment is is engagement with players and members. And I think not having a clubhouse or a facility that we could call home for 8-9 years probably made us think differently on how we communicate and engage anyway. And using technology, which everybody's doing now, we're probably in a more comfortable position than perhaps we would have been if we'd have been still on the old ground and finding our feet with all this. So, yeah, interesting.
So you're in a unique position that you guys, obviously, you're at your new ground. You spent a long time sort of transitioning from one to the next. You were playing your cricket at Haydock Cricket Club for a while, and you played a few games at Farnworth as well. I remember you guys coming to our place to play. So obviously having your own home now must be brilliant, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to describe the feeling. Even, I think this is our third or fourth season that we would have been on, probably fourth now, is it? But it doesn't get boring. For those of us that were around when we were travelling to Haydock every week or wherever, on borrowed grounds, and we were very lucky that the Haydock situation came up. It was a top-class facility. We were blessed to have that, really, but there's nothing quite like home, is there? So, but like Rob said, the plans and it's an ongoing evolution. One of the things I kept drumming into people sort of when we were transitioning onto the ground was we might have got it now, but this is the hard yards, and it's about keeping that facility to a top quality, not stopping it, improving it. And there's scope for all sorts of things at that ground. And we've had the roof built purposefully with a big vacuum in the top of it so that we can extend up at some point. So all those plans are in the offing. Unfortunately, we're probably just going to have to push things back by 12 to 18 months as a result. But you know what? We've got it. So
the ground looks great, and I think there's a lot of effort gone in. And I think I'm maybe a bit biased on this one, but obviously two Farnworth legends put a lot of time in at your place, Phil Hall and Phil Knowles. Obviously, I grew up watching them two play, so the fact that they're on the ground and putting the effort in, they've done a fabulous job, as other people have as well.
They're on there every day at the moment. I saw Phil Hall. I think
they'll still be there now.
Well, mate, one's doing the morning shift, one's doing the afternoon shift.
Well, they're all right. You can do gatherings of two people. They're fine as long as they're socially distanced.
Good stuff. Second question. Obviously, the current situation that we find ourselves in. How's the coronavirus situation hit the club in terms of a senior and a junior level? And what I mean by that is, there's a spin-off question to that. What you're doing about it? What sort of things are you doing to engage your players? So, from a senior and a junior point of view.
So, from a senior perspective, like Danny touched on in the last bit, we didn't have a ground for, I think, around 10 years. So we're quite used to having to keep in touch with people without having a base where we can all meet up. So I think all those contact lines are already in there. I think most of us, probably every club now has got WhatsApp groups, first 11, second 11, all the club. So everyone's constantly in contact, checking how people are, obviously, because the times are tougher for more for some than others. Yeah. I spoke to a few players this week. Most people are getting on not too bad. I think most people want to play some sort of cricket at some point in the season. So people's interest is still there. People are still looking forward to playing some cricket and hoping that we get on. So from a senior perspective and kind of how everyone it seems at the moment, I think spirits are as good as can be. I think everyone wants to get out. Obviously, we're waiting for that guidance and doing it the right way.
Dan, do you want to pick? I don't know if you pick up the junior bit.
Yeah, so I think, just to pick up on a slightly different tangent as well. One thing that we are very lucky, we've got a guy called Mitch Cregan who is our resident stato, and he's started a Twitter handle at Lostock Stats, I think it is. So he's been keeping us up to speed with, not up to speed, but keeping us in check with some historical games and just trying to reach out and keep people engaged with cricket. So I think that's been a really positive thing for us all. It's certainly created a lot of debate on WhatsApp messages anyway. But from a junior perspective, so obviously we'd signed up to do the Dynamos and the All-Stars and all those good things, which have obviously come to an abrupt halt. So what we've got is packs going out to juniors who have signed up to those courses, and that's all facilitated by the ECB, who are obviously supporting that. And then we've also got a plan now in place to do some social media drills, so just simple catching and throwing and motor skill drills that can go out and share beyond our own members. It's like I said before, it's all about engagement, and the more we can stay in touch with these young people. John Hutch made a really good point actually in his interview about there's going to be a particular age group at sort of 15, 16 who are potentially going to miss out on the final season of junior cricket, which is, as we, the three of us sat around here, we know that is one of the most important seasons and can define whether you carry on playing for the next 30 or whether you kind of call it a day. And we've got to find some way of changing that and bringing them back in. So
I think there's a really simple way of doing that, and I think John alluded to it, that we just extend the age groups by 1 year and give everyone that chance to, like you said, to play that season. And I think the county setup, a setup like that anyhow, aren't they? 14s, 16s, 19s. So I mean, we're only replicating what's out there already. So.
And interestingly, when we were in the Manchester Association a few years ago, we merged the Manchester Association with the Salford Youth League at the time. And the Salford Youth League was set up like that, the 12, 14, 16. And the participation, we all see it. You get to 18, under 18s, and the participation levels just nosedive completely.
Yeah.
And the participation levels you saw at 16 were as high as they were at the 14. So I think it's a simple, easy fix, really. But hopefully it'll be taken on board. He also mentioned about the Bolton and Bury link and not just defining the junior section within the Bolton League.
Yeah.
Let's be creative, because it's about getting games on in the right way at the right time.
Definitely.
And so,
the more games the kids can play, I mean, the more chance we've got of converting them into second and first team cricketers. So, I mean, we're all proud to be Bolton League and we're proud to be Bury or wherever we're from. But I think for the good of the game going forward, and to sort of stop having a generation missed, let's get it all together. Let's put it together. Let's get a big setup. But if it's Bolton and Bury cricket, junior league, whatever it is, I think it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, there's definitely time for us.
Moving on to the next question, and obviously we sort of alluded to professionals before, but the question I want to ask you is obviously professionals and overseas amateurs. What's Lostock's view on having them sort of players in and around the club? And then the slant to that is, what's the importance of having them people in and around your club?
So I think my view and the club's view, I think are quite aligned. I think they're really important for Lostock as a club and for the league. So playing with and against the professionals and the overseas amateurs, it improves the standard. It makes more people want to come and watch. I think in your previous interviews, everyone comes to watch the pro, not us. I think that's a point that's quite a common theme.
If you've got a good pro, people turn up. I mean, again, I can only speak about my own club, but there's people turn up at Farnworth, watching Farnworth, that I've never seen before in my life. And they come on and they've got a hold all and a flask, and they're coming to watch our pro, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think where we're at as a club particularly is, when we bring those pros in, what's as equally as important is that they're a good cricketer, is that they integrate themselves in the club and that they get involved with coaching, whether that be seniors, juniors, they get involved on the social side, and they bring something to the club. They make the other players want to play. I think a few years ago when we had Jaden Simmons, I think it was the year before we came in the Bolton League.
Yeah.
He was a real positive impact. A lot of the lads were really good mates with him. I think a few were going to go to Australia for his wedding. So they can have a real positive impact when they join that club. So it's really important you get the right balance and that they bring along the amateur players that you've got playing with them.
You've certainly selected your pros well, I think, because, and this is just going off at a tangent, but I think when we ever go out for a pint on a Saturday night or what have you, we normally see the Lostock boys bouncing around the Swan in Bolton, and there's normally a pro with you as well. So you've obviously done that purposely, that you've gone to choose a professional that's going to integrate himself into the club and get involved with the lads.
Yeah, definitely. It's massively important that. I think that's, and I guess as well with our budget as well. So it's, if you're touching on pros and overseas, I think every club, and us included, would like to bring both over.
Yeah.
But to make sure we're a sustainable club and we don't overspend, we give our own lads a good chance and opportunities to bring them on, spend money on coaching, the facility, so that we're a club looking forward as well as the here and now.
Absolutely.
We're just trying to make sure that we always find that right balance between spending the right money and getting the right pro, but not spending beyond our means. I think it's a difficult balance, and one hopefully we're getting right and continue to do in the future.
Do you want to touch on that, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's. I agree, and everybody agrees. I think that having a professional in your club raises the standard. The standard of cricket in your own club and in the league. And as cricketers ourselves, you love telling tales to your mates. For me, it was I hit Suresh Raina for 4, and got him out and all that kind of stuff. You love telling those tales, don't you? When you see them, they've made it. But also, it is important, like Rob said, they've got to integrate with the club. Otherwise, the value is negligible. Yeah, they might win you a couple of games, but if they don't improve the club around you once they've left, and we still talk about players like Jaden, and we'll still talk about players like Bradley Williams for many, many years, but there's, unfortunately we've had a couple of duffins over the year who might have performed on the pitch but haven't really contributed off the pitch, and that's really disappointing when that happens. So I think Rob's right. We have spent a lot of time trying to find the right cultural fit as well. In terms of age is particularly important for us at the moment. We've got quite a young first team, or a young first team squad, and they do like to bounce around the Swan from time to time. So it is important in that regard.
Well,
I have got another point on the professional side of it a little bit later. That's probably more appropriate to another question though.
Okay. Next one being T20 cricket, and I know already, where this is going to go, because I think you guys have come into the Bolton League and picked up the T20 mantle like straight away. You've been a breath of fresh air and done very, very well with it. So T20 cricket, what is your club's perception of T20 cricket, and then what do you want to happen in the future for T20 cricket?
I think, well, as a club and personally, I think it's been brilliant for us. Apart from when we get to the final, it's not quite gone right the last couple of years, but we're getting there, and we're there or thereabouts. It'd be nice to get over the line. But on the wider point, it's just massive for the club. It brings in revenue. It brings in spectators or people just coming in for a pint who don't know anything about cricket, because there's music on. We get Bolton FM down every Friday night, who've been a real benefit for us. I think through a contact of Danny, actually. So they've been brilliant. We're putting on barbecues, additional drink stalls. We're getting, on a good day, we're getting 200 plus people down when the weather's nice. So it's been really brilliant for us. And I think all the players, we all enjoy playing in it. Everyone's getting home from work. We're putting out full strength teams.
Yeah, that's the key.
And everyone's loving it. So I think that's where we are as a club. And the way it is in the Bolton League, with it being so local, it makes it easier for people to get there. And the way the group stages have been regionalised, it's as far easier for us getting to Horwich or West Orton or wherever we might be playing to the other side of Bolton.
Yeah.
So the way the league have ran it's been a real success, and we've certainly bought into it.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, to have my 2 pence into that, I think it's one of the best things that we do as a league. I think the way it's put on, they do a really good job of it. We were fortunate enough to be part of the final at Horwich last season, which was just spectacular. The crowd numbers that were on, the weather was great. Everybody, it was a decent game. Sadly, we lost, obviously, but
and the year before, finals day at Farnworth, you were there as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And for players, those are the games you dream of playing in. Whether you're an amateur or a professional, you want to apply your craft in front of a good audience, don't you? And when you've got 500, 600 people down watching, it's a special achievement and a really enjoyable day. But for me, again, I use the word engagement all the time. It's bringing people to the club, and Friday nights, whether they just come down for a burger and haven't got a clue what's going on, so what? They'll learn, won't they? If they like it and they have a good time, then they'll come back. So
yeah,
I think it's a massive part of what we do in the league. The only thing I would add to it, though, is being a bit old and fat and creaky around the knees. I don't get picked anymore, so I won't mind a few games at second 11 level.
It's been mentioned that about sort of trying to roll out something T20 for the second team, and I think if we do start the season as late as I think we all realistically think it's going to be, I hope not, but if we start in August, then a T20 tournament programme might be the way to go for us all, because at least we can have our second teams involved, our first teams involved. And if you've got a third team, if you put, your 3 clubs in a round, you could play a round robin at each other's grounds. So there's plenty scope to do things. I think John and the exec have got plans to do whatever they can possibly do to get some meaningful cricket, because I think playing friendlies is a waste of time. I don't think people will be bothered. There's got to be something that we want to get our teeth into.
Yeah, I think the league have dealt with it quite well. How the communication lines have been good on that. So we're always getting the emails to say we've got plans if we start on this date, if we start on this date, second contingencies. So that's been good. So hopefully once we are able to play, it's good that all the plans are in place.
Last thing, and it's a tough question, but 2 very intelligent men, so we'll see what we get from here. Obviously, with the current situation we find ourselves in, coronavirus, social distancing, etc., what do you think it's done to our game at our level, and what do you see the impact in the future to cricket?
I'll let you go first on this one. Older and wiser.
Well, I don't know about that. Older, definitely. I think the pandemic is awful and it's tragic, and I hope everybody is well and safe as they can be. But also it gives us a time to reflect and pause a little bit. And Rob and I have chatted about this before. If I go back 25 years to when I was playing junior cricket, or maybe a bit longer than that now, but when I was playing junior cricket, I was down at the club Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 22 weeks of the year. It'd be juniors training, junior games, cup games, and then before you know it, you're at the weekend playing seconds or thirds or scoring or whatever you might be doing. Yeah. And there was a real family feel, and some clubs have managed to retain that and done a very good job in retaining that, but a lot of clubs haven't. And my thinking around that, I could be wrong about many things, but I could be wrong, is that if you look at how the work-life balance is at the moment, you've got a lot of people who'll commute into Manchester or they'll travel further afield. But I think now we've learned that we don't need to necessarily do that, and we can be a little bit closer to home, and therefore we can get down to the cricket club and watch the kids play cricket, and we can make a bit more of it and I think people will now appreciate the community hub a little bit more than, maybe we've taken it for granted for the last 20 years.
Definitely.
And I'd like to think that will be one of the really big benefits and bonuses that comes from this year of reflection. The other thing that I'd like to hope will happen, and this is a big passion of mine really, that's probably the next thing I'd like to get my teeth into around cricket is, and I touched on it before about going out, getting juniors attracted to cricket. I'd like to see a little bit more, and I'll probably get shot for saying this, but I'll put my head on the parapet. I'd like to see a little bit more fiscal responsibility from clubs to spending money in areas that really matter. And for me, that is going out, investing in bringing junior players into a club rather than trying to bring in senior players. And I'll use Rob as an example. Rob was a casualty a little bit. We were lucky to get Rob, and the reason we got him was because he wasn't getting opportunities at his parent club. Now, there was a few people, probably getting paid that prevented that from happening. And that's a real lot. We lost a guy last year or the year before. He broke my heart, not because he was a world beater or he was going off getting paid money or anything. He left the club because he wanted an opportunity elsewhere. And that, for me, that really hurt. So I'd like to see more clubs investing more money into bringing in and developing young people.
Fair point, yeah. I'd agree. I think wholeheartedly that there's clubs, again, they go around in cycles and what have you, and again, I've been involved at 2, 3, 4 clubs in the Bolton League, and it's we all have our good times and we all have our bad times, but bringing in juniors from putting in the hard yards with the schools, you know, getting someone involved who's passionate about it, and obviously we mentioned Greenie before, Mark Greenhalgh.
Yeah.
You can't have better people than Mark Greenhalgh. The guy's a superstar, and he'll do fantastic things for Lostock, and it's a great coup. I wanted him to come to Farnworth. I've spoken to him a few times, and I wanted him to come, and but yeah, he's at Lostock, and good luck to him, and good luck to you guys as well. Anybody want to add anything before we wrap this up?
I think that's everything from me.
Bill?
No, just a big thank you. Yep.
No problem at all. Guys, thank you very much for taking some time out to speak to us. We've been BCL Beyond the Boundary with Rob Holgate and Dan Cockton of Lostock Cricket Club. Good evening, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Simon.